transition and let's go to Nashville as the Tennessee Titans beat the Cincinnati Bengals 27-3. For the Bengals, Joe Burrow went 20 of 30. He had 165 yards passing. Ryan Tannehill for the Titans, he went 18 of 25. He threw for 240 passing yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Derrick Henry had his best performance of the season, 22 carries, 122 rushing yards, 1 touchdown. Here's Bengals head coach Zach Taylor after the game.
Nothing was good enough today for us. Really, we got beat in every phase, and that's up to every player. That's on every coach that we got. This is unacceptable today, and I got the confidence that we've got everything we need in the locker room to get right, get back on track next week. But disappointing. This is not the expectation they had going into this game. Tennessee controlled the game really from start to finish. They executed. They beat us in every situation. Hats off to them. They outplayed us today. More disciplined, more physical, and so we've got to step up this week and have our best week we've had yet to get back on track.
That was Bengals head coach Zach Taylor after the Bengals suffered their third loss of the season, 27-3 loss. This one came at the hands of the Tennessee Titans. So, my biggest takeaway from this matchup between the Titans and the Bengals is 2 things. One, obviously Joe Burrow is compromised, and this is the second game this season where the Bengals didn't have a single touchdown. They've scored 49 points total this year, and they've only had 3 offensive touchdowns in 4 games. And Joe Burrow, these are quarterbacks who had a minimum of 150 attempts. Joe Burrow, he is averaging 4.8 yards per pass attempt. That's worse than Drew Bledsoe, who had 5.0 yards per pass attempt in 1993. And even Joey Harrington, remember him? In 2003, he had 5.1 yards per pass attempt. This is a minimum of 150 passes. Joe is only averaging 4.8. And so far this year, Joe Burrow, you look at his stats. Joe Burrow, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 728 passing yards. He's only completing 58% of his passes. We know he's compromised. And so the problem with the Bengals right now is teams know that Burrow's injured. And because they know that Burrow is injured, they're just blitzing the Bengals and teeing off on Joe Burrow. Because what it is if Joe Burrow, because he's compromised, if his first read is not open, that's when he's getting sacked. In this game, the Titans, they had 3 sacks. And the problem is, if Joe Burrow's first read is not open, then he doesn't have the mobility to move around and manipulate the pocket and give guys time to get open. He's not the most mobile quarterback anyway. He's not mobile like a Jalen Hurts or like a Lamar Jackson or like even Patrick Mahomes. But he can manipulate the pocket the same way that Tom Brady did when he played. I feel like Burrow is similar to Brady in that aspect when he's 100%. He's not 100% right now. So if that first read isn't there, then the Bengals usually are in trouble, and Joe Burrow is on his backside because he's getting sacked. So I know everyone wants to blame this Bengals offensive line. It's not all on the offensive line. Burrow's just injured. He's just injured. And now T. Higgins is dealing with a rib injury. His status against the Arizona Cardinals this week is unknown. And they can't run the football. They're a one-dimensional football team. They only had 72 rushing yards for the game. Only 72 rushing yards. And so the offense is struggling, but we know why the offense is struggling. But to me, when you look at the Bengals defense, that, in my eyes, is the main reason why the Bengals sit here at 1-3. Now, Bengal fans are going to go crazy. Yes, Joe Burrow is currently injured. Yes, he's dealing with the calf injury. But to me, if you take the reasons why the Bengals are right now 1-3, I would say 30% is because of Joe Burrow's calf. The other 70% is because of the Bengals defense. Everyone's talking about the Bengals defense is on the field too much. So far this season, the Bengals, they have given up 24 points to Deshaun Watson, 27 points to Lamar Jackson. They gave up 16 points to Matthew Stafford and the LA Rams, who didn't have their best player in Cooper Kupp, and they gave up 27 points to Ryan Tannehill. This was Ryan Tannehill's best performance of the season, and it was Derrick Henry's best performance of the season. Derrick Henry had 22 carries for 122 rushing yards, averaging over 5.5 yards per carry. So even though Joe Burrow is compromised and dealing with that calf injury, the Bengals defense has been disappointing in the first 4 weeks of the season. It's no way around it. No way around it, because they weren't going to win this game even if their defense played great. But they would have lost the game 13-3, 17-3. They gave up 27 points to Ryan Tannehill. 27 points to Ryan Tannehill. This is the same Ryan Tannehill in week 1 against the Saints. I think Ryan Tannehill had like 3 interceptions he threw. 3 interceptions. And then against the Browns, Ryan Tannehill, he goes 13 of 25, barely even had 100 yards passing. He had 104 passing yards against the Browns. So right now, even though Burrow is injured and dealing with the injured calf and he's compromised, the Bengals defense also have not done their part. And this is a defense that up front you got DJ Reader. You got nice pass rushers in Sam Hubbard and Trey Hendrickson. At linebacker, you got Logan Wilson. He had 2 interceptions against the Rams last week. And you got Jermaine Pratt, who's a veteran. And I believe, though, also the reason why they're struggling is their secondary and their back end. Dax Hill has played great. He's played great in these first 4 weeks of the season. Nick Scott, not so much. He hasn't played well in these first 4 weeks of the season. And so remember, they had Von Bell and Jesse Bates last year, and they replaced Bell and Bates with Dax Hill and Nick Scott. And Nick Scott has not performed well in these first 4 weeks. He has not. I feel like Awuzie is still trying to get back into a rhythm and get back into the mix. He had the season-ending injury last year. So I just think overall the Bengals defense, they have not played good. And they've never been great to me. I've said that in 2021 and 2022, the Bengals defense, they were good. They were never great because defensively, they don't have a Micah Parsons like the Cowboys. They don't have a TJ Watt like the Steelers. They don't even have like a Fletcher Cox up front like the Philadelphia Eagles. They don't even have an Aaron Donald like the Rams. They don't have a great defensive player. They have good players like Logan Wilson and like DJ Reader and Trey Hendrickson and Sam Hubbard. They're good, but they're not great. So the Bengals defense has to do better moving forward. They have the Arizona Cardinals this week in Arizona, and that's a game the Bengals could lose. They could lose that game because I believe after that, they are home against the Seahawks. And if you have an injured Burrow, you're not beating the Seahawks. And then they have a bye week, I think, in week 7. And then week 8, they got to play the 49ers. They still got to play the Bills. They still got to play the Chiefs. If the Bengals don't win some games, this season could go downhill quick, fast, and in a hurry. They lose this game against the Arizona Cardinals, their season will be officially over. This is an elimination game for the Bengals Sunday against the Arizona Cardinals. The Cardinals are trying to lose. They're trying to tank and lose games so they can be in the Caleb Williams sweepstakes. Bengals better take care of business Sunday against the Arizona Cardinals, or their season could be over 5 games into the season.